Okay, we're going to get started. Good morning, everyone. My name is Danielle Weiss, and I am the Coordinator of Services for Individuals with Special Needs at Jewish Family Service of Metro West. I appreciate you all being here this morning, and I just want to let everyone know that this presentation is going to be recorded so it can be shared. Okay. So today I'm going to be discussing the importance of long-term planning for individuals with special needs, especially in our new COVID-19 world. And then I'm going to explain how Coordinated Care of Metro West, CCM for short, can really help with this. I really am going to try to leave as much time as possible for a Q&A. We only have about an hour for this Zoom. So if you feel like some of your questions don't get answered, please know that you can reach out to me. My information will be at the end of this presentation. There is a chat box that can be used to ask questions. I am going to wait till that portion of the presentation though, but please feel free to submit them as you think of them. And again, if you're not comfortable asking in this kind of group setting, then my information will be at the end of this presentation and you can reach out to me directly. Advanced planning. So your support team. A lot of the times when I speak with parents or caregivers, my first question is, who is on your support team? Is it just you? Does this include other family members, maybe a spouse, siblings? It could be an aunt, friends, neighbors. And if you have this support team, have you ever really had a conversation about what you would like the future to look like? Have you had this conversation with your child with special needs? A lot of parents, even providers, individuals, one day something really scary happens. You might have a health scare, and this thought kind of flashes through your mind of who's going to be there to provide care for my child when I'm not here. And this is why I'm really trying to get families and individuals to really start thinking about the future now. And if you're just starting to think about that, that's great. I would suggest you make a list of important people you want to reach out to and discuss your adult child's future with. Once you have your team kind of developed, it's really important to start having frequent meetings. And I understand that right now that might be, just over the phone or via Zoom or Skype. But every day things are changing and evolving. The goals that we're starting to create are very different in this new world, but they're going to change over time. So I just want to get the point across that ongoing conversations are very important. These values and goals you have are going to change. And it's important that your support team knows that. I had a conversation with a parent the other day who brought up that every Sunday they have family dinner, and that's a really important value. And I think that even those minor details are really important to share with your team. You really want to make sure your team has this full blueprint of your child's goals. I wanted to go into some statistics. I think this really brings the point of importance of future planning. On the Family Caregiver Alliance website, in 2010, it estimated that there was approximately 39.8 million caregivers that provide care to adults aged 18 and older with a disability or illness. So that's about 16.6% of Americans. 30% of caregivers are predicted to pass away before those that they're caring for. That leaves 11.94 million adults with a disability or illness who are going to outlive their caregivers. And again, this was 10 years ago, so I'm sure these numbers are higher now, but I think it just goes to show that having a plan is extremely important. So thinking ahead matters. So great, you've started the conversation, you've developed your support team, and then I get the question of, well, what details need to be in my plan now? Obviously, I talked a little bit about goals, needs, values. Those are very important to be in your plan. But I also think it's important to include important doctors, important routines, medications. How does your adult child take those medications? Independently? Do they need support with that? What about allergies, seizures. So again, that full kind of blueprint. But I also think it's important to, ask about important documentation. So driver's license, state ID, social security card, birth certificate. Where are all those documents? Someone on your support team should know, and they should be kept in a very safe place. Are you the guardian? Do you have a backup guardian? A power of attorney? So again, having all of this information in one plan is extremely important. A lot of parents and caregivers also talk to me about making a financial plan because their goal is security for their family member. So I'm going to briefly touch a little bit on special needs trusts and ABLE accounts. It's very important to understand that if you don't plan correctly for the financial future now, those choices you make could have a negative impact in the future, especially in terms of government services. So if your child has Social Security, for example, they can't have assets of more than $2,000. So some parents have talked to me about, it's not a big deal, I have an inheritance set up. But if you have an inheritance set up, when that inheritance comes to your adult child, that will impact their Social Security and their Medicaid because they'll have too much money in assets. But if you set up a special needs or an ABLE account, you're not going to be putting those services in jeopardy. I am by no means an expert or a special needs attorney, so I do think that if anyone has, more questions or wants to get more information, you can definitely reach out to someone in that category. I also know Plan New Jersey is a good resource, so if anyone would like further information, please reach out to me. I can share that. But now I want to talk to you a little bit more about coordinated care. Coordinated Care of Metro West is a fee-for-service program that is offered at Jewish Family Service of Metro West. It was created because there was this increased concern for individuals with special needs who are outliving their caregivers. And the program is really designed to offer support for individuals, families, and caregivers who are overseeing the lifetime care of adults with a developmental or acquired disability. In most cases, caregivers that I've worked with are family members. And caregivers who are no longer able to provide care or suddenly having this life-changing event like a heart attack are starting to reach out to CCM for services. And CCM will be there for you. But as I started to discuss in the beginning of this presentation, I'm hoping that CCM can really help with the advanced planning so we can have a really good concrete plan in place before the crisis happens. So if you've ever thought to yourself, who will be there to take care of my adult child with special needs when no family member is able to? The answer is CCM will be. And how we really do this is through some thorough case management. So I want to go into some further details and provide examples of what CCM case management can offer. As you can see in the inner circle, CCM case management involves assessment, coordination, monitoring, and advocacy for the participant and the participant's family. And the examples I'm going to give you right now are by no means the only things that CCM can do. I just wanted to go into some specific examples. If you have an idea in your mind of what you would like from CCM, reach out to me. We can absolutely discuss different goals and ways that we can help. So residential alternatives. I ask parents, does your future plan that you started to talk about include where your child's going to live? Have you thought about if this is going to be them living independently? Has your child expressed how they would like to live? Are there things that we could be doing currently to help with the goal? Maybe the goal is a group or a shared living situation. CCM case managers can really help assess the needs and develop a plan to reach this goal, whether it is independently or in a group or shared situation. For government entities, does your child have Medicaid, for example? I have definitely spoken with many parents and caregivers, and I think that one of their biggest fears that they've expressed to me for the future is who's going to be there to help make sure this Medicaid benefit continues. The process for renewal is extremely tedious, as I'm sure most of you know, but CCM can help with that, and I have helped families with that. Or the person who you want to take over, we can help make sure that they have support in that renewal process. I mean, if there's other benefits as well that you want assistance with, it could be food stamps. We're willing to help in any of those kind of ways as well. For financial planners, maybe you're currently working with a financial planner, a special needs attorney, or another agency. CCM case managers are more than willing to work with other members on your support team, and that would include financial planners and special needs attorneys and other agencies. I truly believe that working together is how we're going to reach any goal. Monitoring is another component of CCM, and it's really about following the participants' progress towards the goals we've created. Having check-ins with a participant and their family and their support team, asking the question of what is working out well in the goals we've made, what do we need to do more work on? And I really want to express the point that monitoring can really be at the participant and their family's discretion. We have some families that, in the beginning, they want us to check in once a week, and then over time, bi-weekly, monthly. But some families start off with, let's start with every quarter. It's really your decision. CCM is meant to be flexible and adjust our case management to accommodate the needs, and especially as those continue to change. Advocacy, I believe, is something that really occurs at any time. But to provide an example, I have had parents and caregivers reach out who want some advocacy and support when their child's aging out of the children's system of care and into the adult world. I know that that's a very scary time for families, so we definitely can help advocate and help navigate through that process. And I also want to explain that how each portion of case management applies to you is really based on the detailed care plan that we have participants, their family, and their support team create when you enroll with CCM. So the care plan that we create, it really outlines all the pertinent information about the participant. This will include medical information, financial, your family composition, personality, strengths and weaknesses, daily living skills, self-care. It also really gives the participant and the family a chance to explain what it is that they need from CCM. And again, this will vary per family. Every goal is going to be different. It could be housing for one family, becoming more independent for another, advanced planning for a different family. But we do use this very detailed care plan to get a full picture of what you need from CCM and how we can reach those goals. This plan is updated at a minimum yearly, but it can be updated at any time. And if anyone's interested in seeing kind of the packet and plan that we create if you want to enroll in CCM, I will be glad to share that with you. Again, my contact information will be at the end of this presentation, so you can feel free to reach out to me. Most of the time I meet with families, and I know that that's different right now. So if you wanted to call me or set up a Zoom meeting, we could do that as well. I have started to have Zoom meetings with families. I also want to explain to everyone that I feel that coordinated care of Metro West is very unique. It's tailored to fit the needs of where you are, and that can be anywhere in your planning process. It's designed to be personal to you individually as well as your family. No matter where you are, like I said, in your planning process, we can help you. I've had families who are starting out and don't know where to begin. We can help with that. I have families that are in the middle and feel stuck. We can help with that as well. Because the truth is, a lot of people plan to fail for the future, and no one knows what's going to happen in life. But chances are that you have at least once thought, what's going to happen to your loved one when you're gone or can no longer take care of them? And CCM was designed to help you with that and to help you with that future planning and really give you a peace of mind and knowing that you've developed this plan and it's going to be executed and followed. It's also very important for the participant to be involved and aware of this future planning. It is so much worse to me for an individual to lose their primary caregiver or parent and have no idea what's going to happen next. And I've seen it happen, and it's very traumatizing. But if a plan is discussed and it's created and it's clear, then everyone involved can avoid making an extremely difficult situation worse. So to bring us full circle, future planning is preventative planning. And CCM is here to help you develop the right plan for you and your family, no matter what that's going to look like. I also wanted to share this COVID-19 family support kit. It was shared with me through the Division of Developmental Disabilities, DDD. I think it touches on a lot of the things that I've brought up today, but we are in a new world, so I think that even more of these conversations are being had and people are starting to plan ahead. The Bog Center on Developmental Disabilities also developed a planning ahead for when the What If Is Now document that if anyone is interested in, again, please contact me. I'm more than willing to share. I also wanted to answer some frequently asked questions in case these might be some of the questions you're having in your mind right now that I have received. So what can CCM do for me? I have lots of individuals and parents and caregivers reach out and have heard about coordinated care of Metro West, and then they want to know how it can help them. And honestly, I usually start asking questions about what it is that you need, because the program is designed solely to help the participant and the participant's family. That care plan that I talked about is really created so we can figure out what CCM could do for you. Then the next question I often get is, do I have to commit to a certain amount of hours? And the answer to that is no. You do not have to commit to a certain amount of hours. I have some people who've expressed interest right now in just having CCM come and check in for once a year. Other families want, a couple hours a month. That is, again, your decision to make, and especially as your needs change. Right now, you might just feel more comfortable with 1 hour a month as you're getting to know us and we're getting to know you. It's a personal choice. And the biggest question I've been getting, especially now in this new world, is what if I only want help with advanced planning or long-term planning? That's fine too. We can start with one goal and that can be the main focus. And if those goals change and evolve over time, we'll work on those as well. I also wanted to share with everyone some quotes that I've received from some parents who have been enrolled with CCM. I think these are positive. It definitely makes me feel good because I've worked with these families. I'm going to sleep better tonight knowing CCM is involved, and I don't know what I would have done without CCM. But the future does depend on what we do in the present. I think that that quote is extremely relevant to our presentation today. Okay. So now that we're getting to the Q&A portion, I just wanted to remind everyone that this presentation is going to be recorded and shared. I'm going to flip to the next slide that has my contact information and Ebony Steele, who's a case manager that works with coordinated care of Metro West. Here it is. So if you have any questions, again, that you feel like weren't answered because we run out of time today, or that you'd rather reach out to me privately, please feel free to do so. If you're interested in any resources, this PowerPoint, the recorded version, again, we can get that over to you. Ebony Steele is also going to be emailing out a presentation evaluation that if you could complete. There's also a section if there's other topics you would like us to explore and present on, we can do that as well. But before we go into the chat box, there was 2 questions that were submitted ahead of time that I'm going to provide some information on. So the first question was about transferring to New Jersey. When someone doesn't live here, they're going to be coming to New Jersey and how to access services. And through coordinated care, we have helped a family transition from California to New Jersey successfully. So I'm going to give a brief explanation. And again, if you want further details, we can always talk about that again. So if an individual is transferring to New Jersey, as soon as they have a New Jersey residency, the first thing I would suggest is to apply for Medicaid. Because in order to be eligible for Medicaid, you must be a New Jersey resident, you have to be a US citizen, you have to have a social security number. Some people think that Medicaid is basically only regarding income, but there are other criteria for Medicaid. Some of them include being over the age of 65 or disabled and or blind. If you're not quite sure if the person you're helping apply for, if you are applying for yourself, if you would be eligible, you can go to New Jersey Helps. They have an online tool that will help you. If you do want to move forward with applying, you can apply for Medicaid online. Some people in the past have told me they'd prefer to apply in person. I don't know if that would be the choice today, but if you did want to apply in person, you can apply for your local board social service office. So the reason I suggest applying for Medicaid first is because you need Medicaid in order to apply for services through the Division of Developmental Disabilities, and Medicaid can also link to other services. But if you want to apply for services through the Division of Developmental Disabilities, or DDD, the individual would need to have been diagnosed with a developmental disability prior to the age of 22. In order to receive DDD services, you have to be a New Jersey resident, and you have to have Medicaid. So again, that's why I said apply for Medicaid first, and you must meet the functional criteria. The functional criteria would be from a psychologist or a psychiatrist. You basically have documentation of a chronic physical and or intellectual disability. Again, that's in developmental years, so before the age of 22. It has to be lifelong in nature, and it has to substantially limit the individual in at least 3 of these life activity areas: self-care, learning, mobility, communication, self-direction, economic self-sufficiency, and the ability to live independently. And then if all of that happens and you want to apply, the application is on the Department of Human Services website. And once it's completed and all the forms and documentation, you can mail it to a community service office, which on the Department of Human Services, they do have the list, and it's addressed to the Division of Developmental Disabilities. And again, if anyone needs help with any of these processes, I've done it. I can help you with it. CCM can help. Because once this process is completed, the participant is usually assigned a support coordination agency and a budget to help them get their needs met. And again, this was a really brief explanation. So if further questions, or as you're going through this process, when that time comes, feel free to reach out. The next question that was asked was regarding special needs trust and ABLE accounts, and kind of if there is an issue with having both and maintaining eligibility and asset limits. Again, I can share Play New Jersey's information because I'm not an expert. I'm not a special needs attorney, and I know Play New Jersey does have people qualified in that area, but I did look into an article I found from 2015, just to give a little bit more information. The ABLE Act, which is Achieving a Better Life Experience, it became law in the United States at the end of 2014 to allow people with disabilities to create these ABLE accounts. Now, an ABLE account was designed to allow a person who has become disabled prior to the age of 26 to create a special bank account, because money in this bank account is not counted towards Medicaid and SSI resources, and it would not disqualify the owner from receiving those benefits, which is important. For an ABLE account, though, the money has to be used to be paid for qualified disability expenses. So the examples were education or transportation. And some of this information might have been updated because, again, it's from 2015. We are in 2020, but I thought it was a good article that kind of explains both. So ABLE accounts, are known to serve a similar function as a special needs trust, but they don't replace them. And lots of people have them both for 2 important reasons. So an ABLE account, you can't have more than $100,000 in it without affecting that Medicaid and SSI eligibility. There's only an annual limit that you can contribute, which was $14,000 in 2015. But on contrast, special needs trusts are usually used for that lump sum payments. So with that $14,000 annual limit with an ABLE account, you wouldn't have that with a special needs trust. The other important factor is that there's no restriction on how a special needs trust must be spent, while I had said that an ABLE account needs to be spent on qualified disability expenses. The second factor here also is that an ABLE account, you must repay Medicaid for assistance on the disabled person's death, and you must pay the remainder to the state. So if there's any money left in that ABLE account when the owner passes, it goes back to the government. But by contrast, if you have a third-party special needs trust, you don't have to repay Medicaid and it can be left to a family member. So again, that's just a brief kind of explanation of both pros, cons, asset limits, and that you can have both. But if you want further information, please reach out to me and I can guide you in the right direction. Okay, now I'm going to see if there's any questions in the chat box. Okay. Or if anybody wants to unmute themselves and ask a question now, please feel free to do so. I don't see any questions in the chat. Hi, everybody. I can see everybody now. What does typical outreach from a family look like? Okay, so I think that typically family reaches out to me and has heard about CCM and wants to know what CCM could offer. So normally we would set up a phone call to start, and then I usually set up a meeting to come to your home. Right now, I would probably set up a Zoom meeting because again, we're in different times. But normally then we kind of go over that care plan that I talked about, because I think that will help a family understand what they want, what they need, and how we could help. But I've also seen that if someone's heard about it and they're interested, it either goes that way, or there's also families who something awful's happened, and that's when they're then reaching out to me. They're in crisis mode, they have no idea what to do, they can't care for their child anymore, and they're panicked. So I've had a little bit of both. Honestly, more of the crisis situation than not. So again, this is why I felt the importance of having this presentation today. So hopefully we could get more services and conversations started prior to the crisis. Okay, and the next question is, what are the approximate typical costs involved, and is this hourly? So coordinated care of Metro West costs $125 an hour. But again, that's more of a decision of a family. I've had families who have decided that they only want to allocate 5 hours a month, and that's their maximum. So we know that that's where they would like to stay within. Other families have decided that they would like to do it as a needed basis. There is a full packet that I have created that has all the information about costs. It has the contracts, which again is as far as you want it to be. It has the care plan and tons of information all together. Are the costs ever covered by a third party? They have not been at this point. I don't know if that would ever be something that we'd figure out in the future. But at this point, they've always been paid for by the family directly that I've worked with. But again, we've adjusted it to make it work for the family, where if they felt like they could only, agree to 5 hours a month or 3 hours a month, we figured out how to make it work. Okay. Any other questions coming to mind? I know this was a lot of information as well. Sometimes I feel like questions will come into mind afterwards. So that's why I wanted to share our information. So you can email me and you can call me at any point that you think of anything. I definitely also want to let families and individuals know that the beginning conversations and how CCM could work, and even like the first few meetings, we don't charge anything for that, because we want to make sure that if you are interested in CCM, that it can work for you. So we would talk about your care plan, your goals, and really get to know you first. And then, if you wanted to move forward, we would discuss the contract and payment. Well, thank you everyone too. Okay, so I appreciate everyone participating today. And again, if something comes to mind or any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I am more than willing to work with families and individuals and see what we can do and what we can offer. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.